respected speaker, and I'm going to introduce Maruf, my co-host too. And then I have some important announcement for the incentives, and then we would love to call our respected speaker, and then we start our entrepreneurship session. And last but not the least, we are taking questions directly from the audience. Okay, so if you're so my name is Abdullah bin Aftab, and I'm the co-host for today's session. So I'm pursuing software engineering bachelor's from Namal University, Islamabad. So so we have a speaker for this session, Miss Sharene Lee, and she's from Saudi Arabia, and she's a co-founder of a company, the name of Takadao, and meet our co-host Maruf Khan. Okay, so if you're talking about the incentives, so for today's session, we have two incentives for you. So the very first incentive is the Xbox, uh, which is a Xbox voucher, which is valid for 3 months. And the second incentive is LinkedIn Premium, which is valid for 12 months. So what you have to do, guys, so when we come up to the Q&A session, so I will send attendance form. So you just have to write your details, very basic details. It would be your name, email, or your LinkedIn link. That is optional, I think. So you just have to give your details, and we are going to choose who are going. So there are, I think, 4 to 5 winners of this. So we are going to decide uh, who win these vouchers. Okay, so let's start our session. Uh, I would like to call our host. Assalamu alaikum, Shareen. Kif halak? How are you?
Wa alaikum salam. I'm well, thank you, alhamdulillah. So,
Okay,
Abdullah, I
so
want to make a slight correction. So, I am not from Saudi Arabia. I do live today in Riyadh, but I am originally from Singapore. Hence, my last name is Lee.
oh, right. Sorry for the misconception. So I would like to
It's all
introduce yourself.
right.
And it's okay if you take time for this. I would love to hear your detailed introduction.
You would like me to introduce myself?
Yes.
Okay. So, thank you everyone for coming, and I'm really pleased that you guys have invited me. I understand that you're mostly computer science undergrad, so congratulations on choosing this. It's a very, I want to say, exciting and creative career because you can build things, right? So my name is Sharene. Last name is Lee. I am Chinese, incidentally, and I am originally from Singapore. I moved after secondary school, so I finished my O levels and I moved to the United States for college. When I was there, I went to university and I actually converted to Islam in university. So I was not always a Muslim. I became a Muslim later on in life in university. Then several years, then I got married and then we started a business. So my husband and myself, we are, I want to say, serial entrepreneurs. And we started a business when I was in the United States, in Los Angeles, actually. We then, this was kind of like an old traditional business. It was a restaurant and a fast food place. It was catering, etc. So it was food and beverage business. Then we sold that business, and then we moved to the Middle East. So then we lived in the UAE and Dubai for since 2005. And then we moved back and forth. So we were in UAE and then we went to Saudi Arabia. Then we came back to UAE. Then we came back to Saudi Arabia as well again. So I've been the last 20 years in the Middle East. And in that time, we have built two businesses. So the first business that we built was a startup called Mel2, which was a peer-to-peer marketplace for secondhand items. And this we did in around about 2014, around 2014. And we grew that business in the UAE, and we actually hit a bump. So the UAE is a very small market, so it's you can't really scale businesses because the population size is really small, and the expat population is very big. So the expats, they don't stay around very long, so they come and they go and they come and they go. So it's very hard to keep a user base. So we had trouble raising money because one of the things with startups is you have to be able to raise money, otherwise you can never really scale, or at least it's very, very difficult to scale. And with sort of our, I want to say, we received an investment from a Saudi company, and then we came over to Saudi Arabia. And here in Saudi Arabia, we exited that company. It was sold, it was acquired by the IKEA group here. So the IKEA group is a furniture, Swedish furniture, if I imagine you guys know what it is. And that was what happened. And that this happened around 2021, 2022. And so after the exit, you have a lot of time on your hands, like what do you do with yourself, right? So I started to explore the blockchain. And really, I want to say there are a couple of things in my life that brought me to this company, which we are now building, called Takadao. And so the first thing in my life was an experience with the death of a personal friend. So one of my close, there was another family that was very close in age to my family. Was, they had kids around the same age. And this was in Ras Al Khaimah at the time. So when I was living in the UAE. And so the husband of this family, he goes for Umrah. So he goes with a friend. They drive from the UAE to Mecca, which is like roughly, I want to say, one full day's drive. Is quite far. And on the way back, the driver falls asleep. They get into an accident, and he passes away. Both of them actually, they die. And when we learned of this, his wife was at the time, they had 3 kids, and they were all, they no, maybe 4 children, I think, and they were all under the age of 12. Okay, so she was now a widower, and with 4 very young children. So when we heard the news, we were very shocked, right? Because nobody expects death at this young age. And so we went to her house to offer her help and condolences, right? And when we got there, the thing that I remember about that day is how many people were in the house. So I wasn't the only one who was there for her. The entire community, the house was filled with women from the community. And they were all there to support her. They were all there to help her in some way or the other. So some people would bring food, some people, gave her gifts, some people gave her money, some people gave gifts to the kids. They came with like job offers. They all knew she needed help, and they all came and they tried to offer their help. And this was an incredible experience. It was very sad, obviously, but at the same time, subhanAllah, you see the power of the community, of how people came together to really support somebody when somebody needed help. And that stayed with me for a very long time. The second event that happened was the 2008 financial crisis. Now, you guys are really young. So what are we talking about? Maybe the average age here is around 20 or so, right? So you were born roughly, let's say 2000. I have a 20-year-old son, so 2003. Okay. So when
Okay.
2008, you were not very old, but in 2008 I was already an adult. And I remember the thing that struck me in that financial crisis was how unreliable and how the banks and insurance companies really let us down, right? Not only did they let us down, but they were the architects and the cause of this huge global financial crisis. And if you guys, Google it or go watch YouTube, what happened in 2008, you will see that millions of people became homeless. Millions more, around the world had their currencies devalued, and there was a huge financial crisis, and a lot of people suffered. And they suffered because the banks and the insurance company were essentially effectively gambling with our money, right? So they took the money of the retail guy, the guy who's paying his home loan, etc., and they decided, okay, we're gonna make more money with this money. And they ended up messing everything up, and subhanallah, they caused the financial collapse. So that experience taught me that we cannot actually trust the institutions that we have traditionally trusted with our money. And we need to build something different and better, especially as Muslims, because these guys were playing with fire, they were playing with interest, they were playing with riba. And so they were not only gambling with our money, but then they were gambling the worst kind of way with riba. And then the final event in my life was really the startup that we built prior to this, which was acquired by IKEA. That taught me about the power of technology, right? And about how people's habits and the people's way of life can be changed by technology. And this is still happening today, and it's accelerating at a pace I've never seen with things like AI and stuff, and the blockchain and Web3. And among these three events, it's brought me to where I am today, which is we are trying to build with Takadao alternatives to the financial system, right? So we as Muslims, first of all, I want to build Sharia compliant financial services. I don't want to deal with riba. I don't want to deal with something that I don't believe in. Second of all, I want to make sure that my fellow people, my Muslims, my Muslim community has access to these financial systems. So I want to build a global product that everyone around the world can use. And this is what we're trying to do at Takadao. So to this end, we have two products. One is Takaturn, which is a savings and yield generation that is kind of like the ballot committee or the chit fund. And this is blockchain based and is crypto based. And the second one is a Sharia compliant insurance called Takashur, which is a community-based insurance that is owned by the people who contribute to the fund, aka the insured. And that's my story until now. Thank you for having me.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for the detailed introduction. Okay, so let's move forward to the our discussion. So, Sharene, for our budding entrepreneurs in the audience, can you please briefly define what entrepreneurship is for you and how did you get into this? And what inspired you the most to be an entrepreneur?
Okay, so entrepreneurship is about failure. It's a series of failures, one after the other, until you achieve some success. And it takes a very long time, and it takes a lot of patience, and it takes a high level of passion because it's a difficult journey. You're going to have so much trouble in this journey that if you don't have a high level of passion, you will give up. So entrepreneurship is also a journey of resilience and of staying the course. Okay. If you give up at the first sign of failure, you will not be ever a great entrepreneur. As a matter of fact, you shouldn't call yourself an entrepreneur. So that's entrepreneurship. And of course, if you hear me speak, you're gonna be like, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. That sounds terrible, right? But there are many great things about being an entrepreneur. First of all, from our religion, right? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was an entrepreneur, and among him, the Sahaba, his companions were mostly traders, and they were also entrepreneurs. So it's a very actually highly respected profession among the Muslims. That's number one. Number two, as an entrepreneur, especially a tech entrepreneur, so people building scalable startups, tech products, you have the ability to change the world. I mean, think about where we were, or maybe, I think maybe you guys don't remember, but pre-Facebook, like all of this didn't happen. The way we met people was we met people in real life in person. And so we knew very few people, right? Because it takes a lot of time. But everything has changed with social media. Prior to that, the mobile phone. Prior to that, the internet. Prior to that, even something like a printing press. So entrepreneurship and being innovative and being able to take some kind of invention and bring it to the market and build a sustainable business around it is your key to change the world. So if that's what you want to do, if you want to change the world, that's what you do. You become an entrepreneur.
Okay, perfect. So, as you said, entrepreneurship is all about the failures. So, could you please share some common challenges that you faced in the beginning of the journey?
So number one thing about being a startup founder is when you're building your company, a lot of times, because of the type of company you're building, which is usually technology based, is trying to scale very fast. The company generally is not profitable for the first few years, right? So you have to raise money. Okay. Raising money is not easy at all. It's actually a very difficult thing. And so a lot of people get afraid and scared of raising money. And that's the case for me, right? When I first started, I was like, this is the worst part about being an entrepreneur, is having to go and ask people for money. And I'm sure I failed a million times in that respect. So I have heard maybe 1,000 no's from investors, right? Smart people, rich people, etc. And that is very difficult to take, you know, especially entrepreneurs. They're very competitive, right? So they're used to doing to doing well generally. But when you hear no, 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 no all the time, you really do feel like a failure. Then the other thing is product, right? So you build a product, you think it's the best thing in the world because you know you're so smart, whatever, and you realize actually that nobody wants to use it, or it's somehow not the right product, or it's only so, not bad, not that great. And you often, that's the first point of failure, because you think that you know exactly what you're doing, but when it goes to market, when you actually launch it, nobody wants to use it. That is very common, and that's happened to me multiple times, right? That's why you have to be resilient. Another common thing is running out of money. Entrepreneurs, especially startups, frequently run out of money. So nothing's ever as beautiful as it seems. And that's a very difficult position to be in, because it's not only because of you, but it's because of your team. Right? So your team relies on you, the founder, to be able to pay salaries, to be able to keep the business going. So it's a lot of pressure when you're unable to raise money, and you run out of money and your company is not profitable. So that's another vector of failure. So I have so many of these stories. I don't even, if I keep going, it would be 1 hour of failures.
Okay, so you said that at the very first stage, you think you are so smart and you're building some things, and sooner you will realize no one is going to use, right? So how can we identify validate a good business idea, which can proceed up to which can solve real problems to the
Yes.
consumers? So how can
Th-
we find it?
This is a really good question, actually. So I'll tell you what not to do, which is not to keep the idea to yourself and try to make it a secret. So very novice entrepreneurs, people who start for the first time being entrepreneurs, they always think they have the genius idea, and they're like, I don't want to tell anybody about it because they're going to copy my idea. Okay, and so they don't speak about it. What happens then is that you actually never truly validate your idea. If you don't talk to people about it, you cannot receive feedback about it, you cannot get more ideas about it, and you'll never, and 100% you will fail, I guarantee you. I very recently only met one entrepreneur, and she was actually building something probably very cool, but she didn't want to tell me how it worked. And then she asked, she was like, can you introduce me to some investors for my thing? And I told her, look, I would really like to help you, but how can I introduce you to investors when I don't know what you're building? Am I just supposed to take it on faith that you're a genius, and so what you're building has to be great? You can't do that, right? So number one, talk to everyone you know. So when I started Takadao, I would grab anybody who would listen, and I say, what do you think about this idea? Right? Before I even built anything. First, I had to build the team, because I can't do this alone. These days, you cannot do anything alone that is of any importance. So I had to build the team. So I started by pitching to people I wanted to join my team, and I explained to them the idea, and over these conversations, that's how you refine your idea. Right? So the early step is to talk to as many people as you know, get mentors, people that you respect. So for students, a lot of times those are their teachers, their parents, older people in the community. Go talk to them, because they've been around. Maybe the idea is not for them, maybe it's for students, maybe it's for younger generation, but still get them to give you what they think. Sometimes, by the way, they're wrong, but in these conversations, you will realize one way or the other. So talk to as many people as you can. Now, after you're done talking, now you want to build what is called an MVP. So with as little as possible, build the simplest small product that can test your assumption. Okay, that can test what you believe is what the customer wants, because eventually you need to sell to the customer. So you have to build something that you can test what the customer wants. Sometimes it can be as simple as creating a landing page and some Google ads, and then getting people to see if they will sign up. Can be as simple as that, right? A landing page takes 10 seconds to do with all the drag and drop editors now. You put a little bit of Google ads, you spend $50, you say, okay, $50 I'm gonna put on Google ads. See if anybody comes to the website and then drops their email in. If you start to see some traction there, then you know, okay, there's a demand for this product. So that's one example of building something. But there are other ways to do this as well. So I would say definitely talk to people and then try with an MVP.
Okay, so yes, so let's talk about some networking, right? So you just said talk to people, tell them, tell them what you are going to do, what you have to do, what's in your mind. So can you please share some light on how networking is important to entrepreneurs and how students can do networking? So I know students are shy, they hesitate to talk to people, they hesitate to go into events. So how students can do network?
So if you're naturally a shy person, then maybe entrepreneurship is not the thing for you. You need to overcome your shyness somehow, right? So if you're naturally a shy person and you don't want to try to stop being shy, then don't be an entrepreneur. You'll be wasting your time. A network is more valuable than anything. You cannot imagine. You could be the best engineer, but if you're unable to network with people and speak to people and build some kind of momentum around what you're doing among people, you will not get very far. Okay. First of all, the very first network are the network of your team. Again, today we've advanced to an age where the simple things are all done already. So the things that you can build as a single individual or a very small group of 2 or 3 people, they don't exist anymore. They're no longer valuable. Nowadays, anything that is valuable is going to take larger teams to build, right? You need 5, 10 people at least. And so the very first network you need to build is the team. So if you're not able to pitch to people, if you're not able to explain what you do, then you're going to have a huge challenge to build the team. So that's number one. The second network that you need, then after that, are generally investors, right? So after you build your MVP, you've done a bit of testing, you raise some money from friends and family. Now you want to actually build out your product or you want to scale up, you're going to need a lot more money. So you're going to have a network of investors. And then third network is the network of customers, right? Because at the beginning, it's not so simple to acquire customers. You're a new company, nobody trusts you. They're like, why should I give my credit card to this company? Maybe he's going to run away with it, right? So you need to be able to establish your reputation and get your early customers. How do you do this? You have to first not be shy, all right? And you have to put yourself in situations where you can meet people. That's number one. So you have to go to events, like you said. You have to network with your own students. So the people on this call today, you want to sit and like try to get the emails or whatever or WhatsApp and try to network with them. So you have to put yourself in a situation where you can meet people. And when you actually meet people, you need to be a human being and you need to be sincere. Let's put it that way. A lot of people come into these relationships and they are very transactional and they just want to talk business. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. And if you want to truly build a network that lasts, because by the way, the one thing that doesn't go away is the network, right? Maybe your business will fail. Maybe you will change to a different kind of business. But the people that you meet along the way, they will stay with you forever. And so whatever you do next, you're going to be able to find them there still. So if you're a genuine person, if you're nice to them and they're nice to you and you help them without expectation of them returning the favor, you're going to be able to build a very solid network. So just be human, be natural. Okay. And don't forget that we're all people at the end of the day.
Okay, cool. So that's a very question related to students. So as we are students, so we have to take things parallel, right? So we have our deadlines pending, and we have to do our demanding entrepreneurship things. So how can we manage them? So how can we prioritize the things we have to do first? So
Yeah. Okay. Let me say, first of all, that I have 7 children. So I am probably busier than you as a student. Okay. So, students, you're in the best time of your life. You have very little, familiar responsibilities. You have to take care of your classwork, and everything else is your own time. So, if you think you're too busy, you're not busy. You're not busy. All right. Life is going to get busier very soon. However, having said that, some practical tips and tricks. depending on your personality, for me, I find that I want to talk about myself, right? Because not everybody is going to have my same kind of personality, so you might do things differently. But making lists are very helpful, right? Being able to list down what you need to do. And then, by the way, saying no, meaning once you make that list, you say, well, this one I'm not going to do it. This one I'm not going to do it. This one I'm not going to do it because it's not important. And then prioritizing. So you want to do the thing that is most important first. You know there are certain things which are more important that you have to get done. Those are the things that you want to make sure get done. And then after that, you work through the list bit by bit. And the thing with when you're doing a big project or something quite ambitious, you want to break your tasks into subtasks, right? So if you, let's say, you are designing the, I don't know, the customer journey for a specific product, for example. So the first thing you want to do, instead of saying, okay, I'm going to go from A to Z, you want to say, okay, I think about it in general terms, and I'm going to write an outline. What are the different interactions with the customer will have with the platform? And then you make, that's your outline. And then within each, so those are your subtasks. And then within each subtask, now you try to break it down into even smaller tasks. All right. And then once you have it all broken down, it becomes very easy to go bit by bit because each task is now very short and very small. And you can finish it, and then you will feel happy and you will feel like you achieve something, you go on to the next task, you won't lose hope. So that's how I would do it. But different people have different approaches.
Yeah, perfect. So there's a phrase that alone you can do little, but together we can do so much things, right? So any good approach to make a good team? How can we find like-minded individuals? So how can we find them to make a good team?
So when you build a team, trust is very important. I think trust is the key thing among a team. And so it helps to be extremely honest and transparent about what each person brings to the table and what you can or cannot do, right? So I know sometimes when you're with people, people like to hide their flaws and to exaggerate their strong points. That usually in the long run backfires because then you end up having maybe a team that is maybe you cannot do the job, but then people think you can, right? And that's usually ends up you get a fight then. So it's very good to be honest right from day one. This is what I can do. This is what I cannot do. Okay, and you make sure you deliver on it. You build the trust, and you'll see that team will fall together naturally. The other thing you probably want to do is you try to hire people with diverse uh, viewpoints. Okay, because if you hire everybody the same, you're all gonna solve the problem in the same way, even though that may not be the best solution because nobody else thinks in a different way. So it's good to have diversity because everyone will come with a different idea, and then the best idea can win essentially. So trust.
Okay, so can we ask how can we approach funding or at what stage we should think that we have to find investors? Let's suppose we made our MVP and we attempt several tests on it. So how can we feel confident that yes, so now we have to pitch, so now we can pitch our idea to investors, and how can we approach them? Um, I think you're not audible.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I messed up. Anyway, so what I want to say is it depends on the kind of business you're building. All right. So some businesses and some technology are very difficult to build and take a very long time, right? Such as financial services, for example. And so you might need to raise capital before you even have an MVP, right? So you might end up raising capital just on an idea and a plan or some kind of white paper. Other businesses, though, are easier to build, and so the investors they know this. So the expectation for the investor is it's easier to build, so you should be able to build it first, get some traction, and then come. All right. So it a little bit depends. And as an entrepreneur, you would know, normally, you would know that my business will take much more resources to build, or my business is easy to build. I should build it first and then go, more or less. Now, however, because for students, you guys are generally the first time entrepreneurs, the best way to get your feet wet into the startup ecosystem is to go and join pitch competitions, startup weekends, startup grind, and any kind of incubation programs that are around. Those are incredibly beneficial because number one, you get to network. So you'll meet other founders and you'll meet mentors that they will bring. So that's how you build your early network. And within the early network, typically, you also meet some investors, right? So you build relationships. Don't ask for money right from day one, okay? Because especially first time founders, the investors are unlikely to be, they'll be hesitant to give you money unless you're superstar. But they will generally be hesitant to give you money. But if you build that relationship and they see you around enough and they see your progress, then over time they will feel more comfortable with you because you kind of become friends, right? To some extent. And then it will be easier to approach. So incubators, accelerators, these are great programs for you guys to join. And I highly encourage, if you're building a business, definitely do one of those. Also pitch competitions, because it's a very short form of a incubator program, but you get lots of exposure to investors.
Okay, perfect. So they are saying that always take calculated risks. Always take calculated risk. So how can we calculate the risk? How can we manage, or how can we take risks that are suitable for us? So as we know, if you're entrepreneur, you should take risk for a journey. But they are still saying that always take calculated risk. So how can we calculate?
So the word calculator doesn't really mean that you take a spreadsheet and you start to do some math, right? What it is saying is that if you want to take, businesses are always risky, no matter how safe the business is. You open a restaurant, it's risky, okay? However, what that phrase is trying to say is that don't do something that is most likely impossible. Okay, do something that has a high likelihood of success. um, then that's what it means by calculated risk, right? So you want to do something that has a good chance of succeeding in your view. Now, um, so the thing with that is that it has there's some there's some caveat there, all right? Because sometimes what seems like a terrible idea ends up being a really good idea. So one of the examples that they frequently give is Airbnb. So Airbnb, when it started, it seemed like the dumbest idea ever. Like, who is going to want to stay in a stranger's home? And vice versa, why would a stranger want to rent out his home to other strangers? Okay. So it seemed like a terrible idea, and it seemed like a very, and even for the VCs, they said it as like that's a very bad risk, right? It's not gonna work. But the founders had some special insight. They were like, we know something that other people don't know, and they were convinced of it because they experienced it themselves, right? So the story is that they had a design conference and they were broke, so they rented out their house, and a air mattress, and people came and it was a great experience, blah blah blah. And so they were like, we experienced it ourselves and we know something that those other people didn't know. And so in that way, it was for them a calculated risk, because everybody said it's not going to work, but they knew something that they experienced firsthand. And so that's how they decided to do this business. So in some ways, you can calculate based on theory, based on market size, based on, I don't know, chat GPT. But it is always better if you have some insight, you know something, you've experienced it that other people may not be able to see. Then you can be more uh, clear-eyed when you take this risk.
Okay, so what are your what are your predictions for the future? What are the latest trends that you should believe that every student should have to try this? Any latest trend that you want to share?
Yeah. So okay, the big buzzword, the big hype now is all around AI. Um, but to be honest, it's kind of smoke and mirrors, right? Because AI is the currently, yeah, in order to build anything that is really AI, you need to have data, proprietary data that nobody else has. Okay, which is for students very hard to come by unless your father works for some industry and they have a lot of secret data that he can mine. Um, and then you need to have a lot of GPU power, right? You need like a lot of power in order for you to actually run your AI algorithm with the data. So it's actually a really difficult game to get into. However, it's a good place to start your careers, right? So if you have some AI skills, programming, or even the ability to adapt AI, use APIs and stuff like that, it's probably a good place to start in terms of a career. And if you want to do AI on the blockchain, that is also an interesting possible space because it will allow you to access resources like GPU and power and data, which you may not traditionally have. So AI is one of those things. The other thing, which is also something I'm passionate about, is really the blockchain and Web3 and crypto, because it gives us a new infrastructure that did not exist before. So we call it the Web3 because we believe that it's the web reinvented. So it's no longer the Web 1.0, which is you just read Yahoo and their directories and you just read websites. Web 2.0, which is you read and now you have the ability to create content. So you can write blog posts, you can post on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, you can do YouTube videos. Now we're saying in Web 3, not only can you do all these things, you can actually own them now. Because today, if you post a video on TikTok or YouTube, it's not your video. It belongs to TikTok or YouTube. But on Web3, it's actually yours. You can take ownership of it. You can monetize of it. You can paywall it, basically. You can charge people for using it. So Web3 has a very interesting new paradigm and infrastructure that can allow a whole new host of businesses and a whole new range of experiences, and in my case, financial services to take place. So this is something I'm very bullish about. So it's not about token go up, token go down, Bitcoin price is up today, Ethereum is down. That's not the point. The point is the underlying technology allows us to reimagine and rethink how the world is organized. And that's what's exciting about it.
Okay, so what do you think? Should we go for buzzwords like that you just said, blockchain, AI, or legacy things like web development, software development, system design? So, what do you think? How can we start? From where should we take start?
I want to say that when you're young, the thing you want to do is to find something that you're very good at doing. Don't follow the buzzwords. Don't think about, okay, again, don't calculate like what is the industry to go in. Look for something you are very good at and that you enjoy doing. If you are very good at something, no matter what the thing is, you're going to be successful at it. And if you enjoy it, that is even more powerful. So you will be successful, but like at a very high level. So this is what you should focus on when you're young, because you still don't have to force yourself to do something you don't like to pay the bills. So take advantage of it, and hopefully you will find something that you're really good at and you really enjoy, and then the success will come by itself, honestly.
Okay, so there's a personal questions. I don't say I shouldn't say that personal question, but yeah, discussion is really close to my heart. As we know that all the successes come from Allah. So, but somehow, uh, um, a person can face failures. So how can we cope up with the setbacks? And usually people do quit their journey. They stop their journey. Like they spend their 5 years, 6 years in their journey, but still they face so many failures, and they just quit and they start their job or their normal things. So how can we face failures, and how can we take it as a learning opportunity for us?
Number one, know that you're not alone. All right. So every successful entrepreneur has gone through the same journey of having failed a bazillion times, because that is the entrepreneurship journey. There is no entrepreneur that achieves success at his first try. He always had to do something, he always had to fail. So know that you're not alone. And know that whatever you see of success online of people, that behind that there's like a bazillion failures. Okay, and that this is the journey. Every failure should be technically considered a win for you. Because if you didn't try and you didn't do something, you would not have failed, right? So every failure, you've learned something, and it's one failure closer to success. So when people go fundraising and they get like kind of disappointed because everybody's saying no to them, I say your job as a fundraiser, your job when you raise money is not to collect, it's not to find yes, it's to collect the no's. Okay, you keep collecting the no's, and eventually you're going to find a yes. So you have to approach this from day one knowing that you're going to fail, and then you won't feel so bad about it, and you just have to keep going and keep trying.
Perfect. Cool. So I think I've already asked so many questions. So let's come to my part for with the very last question. Any advice from you for the students?
I think I've just spent the last, I think, 30 minutes giving advice. I don't know. I'm all advised out.
Uh, okay, so let's take it. If Shareen is a student right now, so what should she have to do for the
Mm,
entrepreneurship journey?
yeah, like I was saying earlier, look for something you really enjoy doing, and keep doing it and get really, really good at it. Right? Not sorry, not really enjoy doing. Look for something you're really good at and keep working at it and get even better at it. Right? Because some people are talented, right? And they're good at a certain thing, but talent alone is not enough. If you are talented and you spend time and effort on it, your talent will be maximized, and it will go beyond your talent, and you'll be so good at it that nobody can deny you. And if you think a lot of how young people get attention and get head start, it's because they're really good at something, right? They may suck at everything else, but they're just really good at that one thing. And that's actually in then what matters. Now, having said that, not everything is equal. So you can be really good at certain things, but they may not gain you the same amount of success and, let's say, financial return or notoriety as something else, right? So you try to find something you're good at that actually can make money. Let's put it that way, or that has a future. But in any event, try to find something you're really good at and keep working at it.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shireen.
Most
It was really
welcome.
informative. So I would like to give some mic to our co-host, Maru, if you would like to something, ask something.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so inspired by you because I worked in the startup ecosystem in the incubation centers we have on the national level here, and they're really trying to promote kids and young people to become their own boss, basically, and that they provide you support, they give you the whole guidelines of how a business plan should be, and they really take it like from an incubation standard, like you treat you like a baby, and I really appreciate why this ecosystem is being promoted a lot as compared to the typical traditional uh, jobs people have had in the past. I would also like to ask one question since it is something that's been on my mind. Uh, Many women are hesitant, and they're in my network that I know, they're amazing women that they're so enthusiastic, but they don't come forward and try to be a leading position. So if I see you, you're a very inspiration figure, and you have taken the step to your company Takadao and so everything. I would really love to see if there was anything that you faced a setback just because of you were a woman or you were a lady, and it would have been different if you were the other gender. And how did you really take it so and tackle it?
Yeah, so I think setback number one is don't even put this in your head that you are disadvantaged because you're a woman. Because that is you putting roadblocks for yourself. Before you even start, you're already saying, "Oh, I have a problem because I'm a woman." So that's don't do that. It's pointless, right? And certainly you're gonna face setbacks, and sometimes it's gonna be because you're a woman, whether it's because there's some kind of discrimination because the man is discriminating, or because you have a certain you're disadvantaged in some way. So, for example, I have kids, right? So, at some certain point in my life, I had to take a seat back seat and take care of the kids. So, I didn't have the time and the ability to really focus, right? So things like that do happen, all right. But at the same time, don't let that stop you. And don't think that, oh, because of A, B, and C, I'm disadvantaged. That's the biggest thing, bad thing that you can do to yourself as a woman. Other than that, the advice is really the same. Be really good at what you're doing, and nobody can take that away from you. Even if they discriminate against you, when they actually need your service, they're going to come to you. They're going to come crawling because they have no choice because you're the best at it. And that's the approach you want to take.
And that's really a good, realistic point of view that you have shared with us. So I believe we are at the question Q&A section. We're gonna wait a few minutes if people have any queries. While we wait, I would love to tell Al, you discussed that to the AI was the buzzword. So to even have an AI product, you need a lot of proprietary and your own data, and you need a GPU and lots of processing power. So I would love to mention that Microsoft actually has cloud services like Azure. So they give you these services, and you can use their own high processing computers to build your own products. And I've actually, my final year project was regarding the healthcare sector and bridging the machine learning aspect. So we were able to uh, detect wounds based on their simple image, and you can get your treatment recommendation for it. So common people can understand it. So it was the Sustainable Development Goal 3, healthcare for all people of all lives. I really want to push that people they want to go for AI, that's well and good. But I would say that you need some resources. And Microsoft also has the Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub. It actually gives you 150,000 USD credits in Azure that you can use for your service. You can make a software as a service or a platform as a service. So it's quite, an amazing opportunity right now that we're going to get that. And you only need a concept design to start with, and then later on as you progress you get your domain, and then you can get more credits, and you can get the chat gpt-4 API keys, you can get exclusive access to services. So it's quite amazing what they can offer for us, just based on if we are willing to pursue a concept or something that is unique and helps people. I believe we are all great. There is people really love this session. I see no questions. So we're going to conclude the session then. So Abdullah, would you like to take it away regarding the incentives or anything else?
Oh, yeah. So I think we have a question here from Danish. So, okay, I'm going to allow his mic.
Yes, I have allowed Danish mic. You may speak, Danish.
Okay.
Hi everyone, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes.
Danish.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Shireen, for first of all, it was really good experience, and I'm really got inspired from your the whole story that you have told me earlier. Okay,
Thank
my
you.
very first question is, what do you think about getting a mentorship in entrepreneurship, and how do we get a perfect and how can we choose a perfect mentor for ourselves? As we need all the time in this path, we all the time we need some type of mentorship to get uh, you know to get
Yeah.
really like information. Okay.
I totally agree with you. So this is a really good point. Thanks, Danish. It's very important to have mentors, really. And but there's no such thing as the perfect mentor, right? So the idea is to speak to as many people as you can and learn from as many people as you can, right? And obviously you try to speak to, when it comes to mentorship, you want to speak to people who are better at you than something, right? So it's not, you're not going to go to like your friend or whatever and asking for mentorship. You're going to look for somebody who is much more knowledgeable than you at something, and you ask him for mentorship. And you shouldn't restrict yourself to one person. You should always try to get mentorship from multiple people from multiple different fields. Because to be honest, to be a really outstanding entrepreneur, the more you know about the world and about different, fields which are either your field or like parallel fields, the better you are. Because a lot of times you end up doing cross-disciplinary things. You never ever just stick with one thing. So from that respect, the best way to do is to speak to as many people as you can. Now, how do you find these people? Well, you could always spam them like on LinkedIn and stuff, but usually when you spam people, they don't respond, especially if they are important people because they don't have time or whatever. But the best way to do it is through introductions, right? So if you know somebody who knows that somebody, then you ask for an introduction. Okay. If you don't know anybody who knows that somebody, you need to go find somebody who does know the people. And that is the job of the entrepreneur. Nobody ever said entrepreneurship is supposed to be easy and that it's going to be handed to you on a plate. You're going to face challenges. And if one of the challenges is finding mentors, then you need to overcome that. And if it's as simple as you need to talk to as many people as you can to figure out who knows this person, then that's what you're going to have to do. And then, of course, back to whatever networking opportunities you have, go after those networking opportunities. They will bring you mentors, they will bring you teammates, co-founders, they'll bring you all kinds of different people.
Okay, thank you. I have another question, please. Am I audible, guys?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. Also, as you mentioned, that we need to have a network of diverse people, right? And people must be trustworthy and transparent and honest, right? And how do you think, like, as we all know that time is very important for us, and we don't want to waste our time on the people who are not like, and every one of us who is like is in our team, and everyone must be like hiding something behind, or there any weaknesses and all that things. They all of us do that to fit in a perfect community, right? So how can we find the perfect people for our to our network for our network, and how can we observe that they are diverse, and they are transparent about their weaknesses and their strengths?
Yeah, so this is a tricky one. But I think when the team is small and when you are just starting out, the founder is usually the barometer for the culture of the company, right? So you are the one who sets the tone. You are the one who everybody will follow. So if you start with yourself, if you yourself are honest and you yourself are frank about your strengths and your flaws, people are likely to follow suit as well, right? And and then you have to also be careful not to penalize somebody. So if you tell people, okay, I want you to tell me and be honest about what you're good at and what you're bad at, and then if he tells you what he's bad at and then you fire him, then nobody else is going to say again what he's bad at. So you have to make sure to be very sensitive to these things, right? Another thing about diversity and getting people to give their viewpoint, so it's very important for founders, especially founders, we like to talk, we have big mouths, that's what we do, and we always think we're the smartest people in the room. So the most difficult challenge for the founder is to know when to shut up. All right. And sometimes you are the one who's leading the discussion and you're the one you think you know best, but sometimes it's good for you just to be quiet and listen to what your team has to say. And so be quiet is one is the advice I'll give you, and listen to what people have to say. And if people say something that even if it's kind of silly, do not criticize, right? Because then again, nobody else will talk um, subsequently. And the last piece of advice is people like to say when you ask them, did you understand? Practically everybody will say yes, they understood. But actually half of them did not understand, or the guy even who's saying I understand, maybe half of it didn't understand, but he thinks he knows. Okay, so instead of asking did you understand, you ask them what they understood. So you say, okay, I've explained this and this, now what did you understand from what I'm saying? So you ask him to repeat back to you basically, and if he's able to explain in his own words, then he's understood. Okay, and that's how you make sure there are no misunderstandings and that everybody is on the same page and that you can move forward, because misunderstandings cause a lot of waste of time, and then it makes people fight and it makes people angry. because they're like, I thought you said this, I thought you said that. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay, thank you
Okay,
so
so
much,
we are
Sharene.
taking one last question. Thank you,
Sure.
Danish. So we are taking one last question. So question is from Taiba. I figure out my way of explaining things related to my understanding and feel that I cannot properly present my opinion to a group of people. How can to deal with this? So she's undergrad student and doing software engineering.
Practice makes perfect. You have to practice, and especially with public speaking and things like that, it's very very nerve wracking at the beginning, because you if you're doing it for the first time speaking to a group of people, is people get very nervous. So practice makes perfect. You start by practicing by yourself in front of the mirror. Talk, practice, you know. Then you start by practicing with people that you're comfortable with your mom, with your friends, with your, with your father, whatever. And then you take the plunge, and now you do it with actual outsiders. And you see that over time, your tongue will be looser, you will get more used to speaking, and you're gonna feel it's less and less difficult. And at some point, you're just comfortable with it. But with everything that is difficult in life, practice makes perfect, right? It can be even like cooking, for example, right? So at the beginning, when you learn to cook, it's difficult. You're gonna burn the thing. It's gonna come out awful, whatever. But the more you do the same thing again and again, the better and better it becomes. Just like computer coding, same thing, right? Developing software is like that. You start, it's full of bugs. Then you keep doing the same thing enough, and you keep practicing. It's gonna be so much easier after a short amount of time.
Oh, perfect. So yes, I think uh we have to end this. Okay, so yep, we have no other questions. Okay, so as we wrap up the entrepreneurship session, so I would like to extend a big thanks to your speaker, Shareen. Your insights have been invaluable, and we appreciate your time and expertise. Jazakallah, thank you so much for your time.
Well, yeah, cool. So just one final word. If you guys
Sure.
would like to reach out to me, you can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Sharene Lee. I think you get it from the thing. And also do have a look at what we're doing, because we are constantly looking for talent on the blockchain side, on Web3, as well as on different aspects of growth, etc. So please do come and follow us and reach out to me if there's anything I can be of service, inshallah.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Have a good one, guys. Assalamu alaikum.